There's something no one tells you about growing old. Not everyone becomes lighter with age. Some still carry regrets, still crave recognition, still try to fix what has long passed. Even when the body is tired, the heart is fragile, and memories begin to fade. But Buddhist wisdom whispers a different truth. When you finally let go, it's not surrender, it's understanding. This story isn't just about letting go. It's about releasing control, making peace with past mistakes, facing the fear of death, and most of all, remembering that even an imperfect life can end with quiet beauty and grace. So if you've ever sat alone and thought, I've lived a long life, why doesn't it feel finished? Then maybe this is the journey your soul has been waiting for. I don't know where you are as you listen to this, maybe in your favorite armchair, in a quiet room, or staring out a window, watching autumn leaves begin to fall. But I do know this, you've lived most of your life, and yet there may still be something you haven't been able to put down. Maybe it's a mistake from long ago that still aches in the silence, a decision that fractured your family, a deep need to be seen, to be recognized. That never quite arrived. I know that feeling because I've lived with it too. And for a long time, I believed what many of us do. If I could control everything, if my children just listened, if I could go back and do it all differently. But Buddhist wisdom taught me something else, that peace doesn't come from fixing the past. It comes from letting go. Not of others, but of the need to constantly judge yourself. When you begin to release, you begin aging with grace. And maybe, just maybe, you'll learn how to forgive past mistakes, how to stop parenting everyone around you, and simply live as a human being without guilt, without proving anything, just here. I used to believe that aging would bring peace, that once we were done striving, competing, proving, we'd finally be free. But the truth is, it's not that simple. I've seen people in their 70s, 80s, still burdened, still restless, still needing to feel useful, still hurt when their children don't listen, don't live the way they hoped, still haunted by memories, things that should have been long buried. I've seen it in their eyes, and sometimes I've seen it in myself. A quiet kind of exhaustion, not from the body, but from the mind refusing to let go. Aging, I've come to realize, is not an ending. It's a different path, one where everything you haven't released will come back to visit. Maybe you feel it too. You act strong, but deep down the questions remain. Why did things turn out this way? Could I have done more? Why doesn't anyone see how much I tried? And the more we try to control, the more we feel everything slipping away. So if you're still here, still listening with me, stay a little longer. Because what you're searching for might not be out there. It might just be here, in this very breath, this quiet pause where you begin to let go. Not to lose yourself, but to finally see who you really are. For a while, I tried to do everything right. I ate healthy, went for walks every morning, showed up whenever my children or grandchildren needed me, always spoke kindly, always smiled, even when I didn't feel like smiling. I believed if I lived well, worked hard, stayed positive, then peace would come. Someone would notice. I wouldn't be left behind. But then, there were mornings I woke up feeling completely empty. Everything around me was the same, but something inside felt hollow. And I asked myself, is my worth only measured by how much I can still do for others? If I'm no longer in control, then who am I? Why does it feel like the longer I live, the more invisible I become? Sometimes what we think is mindfulness is just another way of holding on. We don't really let go. We just hide it beneath the disguise of being good. We don't accept what's changing. We just pretend we're okay because we think we're supposed to be. But the more we try, the more we feel like strangers in our own skin. So if you've done everything right, but still don't feel peace inside, maybe the problem isn't in how you've lived. Maybe it's in what you've been avoiding. Because sometimes, so the truth isn't found in how much we've done, but in what we've never dared to feel. I remember a cold winter afternoon. I was sitting in my quiet kitchen, holding a cup of tea that had long gone cold. And suddenly, without warning, I began to cry. Not because someone had hurt me, but because an old memory, one I thought I had buried, came back. A moment when I said something that wounded someone I loved. A decision I made out of fear that caused a rift I could never fully mend. I thought time had erased it, but it hadn't. It had only buried it deep, like a glowing ember waiting to rise again. And that's when I saw it. All those years of being good, being strong, being useful, weren't about peace. They were about atonement. The Buddha once said, "The fool carries his sins like fire in his heart, but the wise sees the fault, learns from it, then lets it go." Dhammapada, verse 136. But I hadn't let go. I had only hidden it under layers of duty and politeness. And the more I tried to live well, the further I drifted from myself. Modern science confirms this too. According to a 2020 study by the American Psychological Association, older adults who carry unresolved guilt are 2.5 times more likely to suffer from depression than those who've learned to forgive themselves. So let me ask you something. Have you been punishing yourself quietly for decades? Have you forgiven everyone except you? Here's the twist. We're not tired because we're old. We're tired because we've been pretending for too long. You may still believe, I have to do more, be better. But maybe, just maybe, what you really need is to sit down and whisper to yourself, I was wrong, but I've learned, and now I deserve to rest. If you've never said that to yourself before, please don't go just yet, because what comes next isn't just a teaching, it's a moment of awakening, a chance to finally come home to you. Inner Struggle, English voiceover version, 590 words. Even after seeing the truth, I didn't feel peaceful right away. Instead, I wrestled with myself, because letting go of things you've carried your whole life is never easy. First truth, there's nothing left to prove. I asked myself, if I'm no longer striving, then who am I? For so long, I believed that if I didn't leave something behind, a legacy, a name, a mark, then my life would mean nothing. But the Buddha taught, one who knows themselves needs no praise. A lotus does not need applause. It still gives off its scent. The twist? I didn't need to be impressive to be meaningful. My presence, quiet, grounded, unseen, is enough. A Harvard study found that seniors who live for inner peace over outer recognition report 38% higher life satisfaction. Ask yourself, if there was nothing left to prove, how would you live differently? Second truth, not letting go of past mistakes. There were nights I stayed awake, tormented by regrets no one even remembered but me. The Buddha said, do not pursue the past, do not chase the future. The present is life's only reality. The twist? Forgiving doesn't mean denying the past. It means no longer punishing yourself with it. According to Mayo Clinic, self-forgiveness practices reduce anxiety symptoms by 31% in older adults. Ask yourself, if you could write a letter to your younger self, what would you say? Third truth, holding on to control over your children. I used to worry, if I don't guide them, who will? But the Buddha said, all beings have their own karma and their own path. No one can carry another's burden. The twist? Love isn't control. It's trusting that the people we love must fall, learn, and rise on their own. A UC Berkeley study showed that aging parents who release expectations and control experience stronger, healthier connections with adult children. Ask yourself, what would change if you move from being the one who directs to the one who quietly blesses? Fourth truth, fear of death and clinging to life. I didn't fear death itself. I feared not having lived enough. But then I realized a life isn't measured in years. It's measured in presence. The Buddha taught, there is birth, there is death, but the true self remains unchanged. The twist? Death isn't the end. It's a gentle return if you've truly been awake while alive. According to the World Health Organization, daily meditation reduces fear of death by 40% and increases spiritual acceptance in elderly populations. Ask yourself, if tonight were your last night, could you place your hand on your heart and say, I live this day fully? If you're still here, listening with me, perhaps a part of you is also ready to release what's been silently weighing you down. And if so, then stay with me. Because what comes next is not about beliefs, it's about a decision, a quiet moment where you choose peace for yourself. And then a moment comes when we must choose, not between right and wrong, but between continuing to carry or finally living gently, honestly, just as we are. I began with the first truth. There's nothing left to prove. I had spent so much of my life trying to be seen, respected, validated, but I forgot what it felt like to simply look at myself without judgment. So if you're still trying to be enough, try this. Live one day without striving. Do something just because you want to, not for praise, not for legacy, but because you are alive. A University of Michigan study found that seniors who practice intentional self-living report 45% higher life satisfaction and significantly lower evening loneliness. The Buddha said, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. Maybe what you need is not someone else to understand you. Then came the second truth. I must learn to forgive myself. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the quiet courage to look back and let go. Try this. Write a letter to your 30-year-old self, not to blame, but to say, you didn't know better, but today I do, and I understand you now. According to Stanford University, writing letters of self-forgiveness can reduce cortisol, the stress hormone, by 27% in older adults and improve sleep within 3 weeks. The Buddha said, you are your own refuge. No one else can rescue you but yourself. So why wait for someone else to free you when the key has always been in your hand? Then came the third truth. I cannot control my children's journey. As parents, we're used to teaching, but we rarely learn to be still. Instead of saying more, I learned to chant softly. One name, one prayer. Not to force them to listen, but to bless them from afar. Try this. Each morning, sit in silence for 3 minutes. Don't ask life to change your children. Just send them love and let karma do the rest. A 2022 Journal of Family Psychology study found that grandparents who offer energetic support rather than spoken control feel more connected and respected by the next generation. The Buddha once said, the wise do not force others to follow, they shine quietly, and others are drawn to that light. And finally, I face the biggest truth of all. I fear death because I haven't truly lived. Here's the twist. I didn't need more time. I just need a deeper presence. Tonight before you sleep, place your hand over your heart and whisper, I lived with my heart today, and if tomorrow doesn't come, I am at peace. According to the U.S. National Institute on Aging, Just 5 minutes of nightly mindfulness can reduce fear of death by 40% in people over 70 and increase acceptance of death as part of life. The Buddha taught, live as if you were to die tonight, and if you wake tomorrow, receive it as a gift. And you, if you're still listening, maybe a part of you is ready too, not to start over, but to begin living differently, softer, truer, more awake. Because real change often begins with one breath and one quiet choice from within. Do you remember how this story began? Maybe you were sitting in a familiar room on a quiet afternoon, carrying something in your heart you hadn't yet named. And maybe it's still there, but you are no longer the same. You've walked through truths that weren't easy to hear. You've looked gently into yourself, not to criticize, but to begin understanding. And if you've made it this far, then I know you're not weak as you once believed. You're someone deep enough to feel pain, awake enough to pause, and quiet enough to hear the softest voice inside, your own. The Buddha taught, only by looking within do we find the path. That path is not far away. It begins with this breath, with one simple choice to live a little differently, to walk more slowly, to be here fully, softly, truly. Before you go, I want to leave you with one question. You don't have to answer it right away, but I hope you carry it quietly, deeply. If there's nothing left to prove, if the past has been forgiven, if your children walk their own path, and if death is no longer something to fear, then who are you when you no longer have to hold on? Let this question stay with you tonight. And if you feel ready, share your answer in the comments, or simply share the pain you've been carrying, not for attention, but to remind yourself you no longer have to hide. I'll read every word. And maybe, just maybe, someone else suffering in silence will find light in what you leave behind. And if you think this is where the story ends, you haven't heard what comes next, because there is something deeper than death, quieter than loneliness. And I'll tell you, in the next story,